Hey guys, Mike here. So what a day in the market, and we got our answer very quickly from yesterday's video, whether or not we were going to come up and grab liquidity first before dropping, or the opposite. And yeah, the market let us know very quickly what it was going to do. And so nice red day, and you're starting to see, and I'm going to show you on some of these charts, like remember the generals are what really matter, right? And you're starting to see moving averages get broken, all right, on indexes, on the stocks, these lower highs and lower lows, all this good stuff. So it's a process, right? And so we're going to look at all that right there. Again, is the stuff going on in the Middle East being used as an excuse for it? Sure, maybe that's what it is. You know, every time there seems to be news coming out about one striking the other, all of a sudden you get a drop again, right? Even though you might be having a rebound, it'll just drop on the news when it comes out. But again, the simplest way, this is just nothing but liquidity grabs. That's all you're going to look at it as. Okay, it'll use the news to move the market where it wants to move and stuff. Because again, you'll see this. You can see the same thing come out tomorrow, and all of a sudden you go, "Wait a minute, but the markets are rallying or whatever," and it's just it has to move up to grab liquidity to continue to move down. That's what's going to happen, right? And I will start off with this right here. You know, if you want to know how NVIDIA kind of stands alone in most companies, found this chart for you guys right now. This is the 10-year total return on the x-axis. That's the one horizontally, and versus the 10-year annualized EPS growth, right, on the y-axis, the one going up and down. And NVIDIA is that island or planet like Pluto, like way out there. Of course, Pluto's not a planet anymore, but it used to be when I was growing up. It's way out there to the right. You got SMCI right there, kind of by itself, but that little island off to itself, right? That's NVIDIA. Okay, that's how much different it is than any of the other semiconductor stocks out there. So I just wanted to show that to you guys, see what you thought about that. Now, of course, what's really putting pressure on the market? You still got the 10-year yield, which we've been talking about. Moving up, still going up, and if it decides to move up to this weekly fair value gap right here, well, and that's going to create more pressure on stocks, right? What do you got on the dollar? Dollar's going up at the same time, right? Powered its way after a couple reactions through the daily fair value gap. Now, you know, is it going to break the next November level right there? Could. That's November high right there, right up in that gap area. So, you know, if that continues to move up, that puts pressure, especially on tech stocks, high beta stocks, that kind of stuff, right? Now, looking at the S&P, and we'll kind of go in detail on this right here. As you can see, obviously broke that 50 moving average, and when you break the 50 moving average or any major moving average, you tend to get a nice move down, and that's pretty much what happened there, right? Now we are sitting in a huge discount zone, hitting the golden pocket in what you consider a 2-hour demand zone. This is really the last 2-hour demand zone that's of any quality, to be honest with you, before you hit what? Big old gap below right there. All right, and so again, we're at the golden pocket level now, 0.618 to 0.650, and so you can see the weekly expected move, the low is 5022. Okay, so we aren't far from that. That doesn't mean we have to hit it, doesn't mean we have to go below it, but again, 5230 is the top above. And so, you know, when we look at this right here, now we get the question is this going to hold, right? Are we going to get a bounce from these levels, which we bounced multiple times? Okay, that's where we're at right now. And what's funny is this right here, this is the March low. This is a major level. The S&P did not break this today. It did not close below it today, right? And so that's actually a pretty big thing. Okay, so I'm going to show you some other ones when you look and go, oh, wait a minute, these did, all right? But that is a major level, a prior month's low, prior month high, all that good stuff. Because I've showed you when it breaks like prior days lows, prior weeks lows, what happens. But that's prior month's low, okay? And so if we break that, and then we start going into February levels and stuff. And now here's what's really funny though, when you look at this. Please hit that thumbs up because it'll help people find this video, and think about subscribing if you like a finance channel who doesn't try to talk over your head and make themselves seem all smart and stuff. It's when you go to SPY, the ETF, right, and you look at this right here did break its March low. See how it wicked down below it and then immediately bounced back up, right? It started coming back down. It breached March low, came into a small fair value gap, and then bounced back up. Right, and so it actually closed right at the March low today, as you can see right there. Okay, and a lot of times what you see is, more than anything, what you really want to see is it going to come back up into this liquidity right here, which where that 50 moving average is, and then sell back off, because the 50 will be resistance, right, or should be. You know, what you really want to see overnight, and then of course there's these levels that you have to break if we continue to move back up and stuff. But what you really would like to see, at least even overnight, we'll have to see what happens. But if it comes back up, comes in this fair value gap, grabs liquidity, comes down, retests that March low right there and turn into support, then you can, get a decent move up. We'll see. Again, it's got to break through the 50, all that fun stuff. But that is a huge move, guys. That's over 1% move just to clear and mitigate this fair value gap and get above the 50 again. So it would have to be a big move up for a SPY. Okay, that ain't QQQ. A 1% down the SPY is a pretty decent move, right, for anybody. Now look at the Qs. What did it do? It broke the 50 moving average as well. And you can see it just cascaded when it did, right? This is what it's held at, what, 3 times right there? Actually, like 10 times if you really count every single wick on this 1 hour. But when you look, what it come down to? Again, a 4-hour fair value gap. That's where it held after taking out a major level on this one, okay? Comes down, and you see the weekly expected move is 428.55 to the low. So it's like a 4% move expected this week overall. And so, this is what you usually see when you come into a fair value gap. We get these reactions back up, try to hold and stuff, a lot of liquidity right above us. Okay, so we have to see what they do overnight and how the market's going to open up. And lately what you've seen is when you get these bullish opens, you get the sell-off, right? You've seen this multiple times now, over and over and over. And again, that right there is the March low. Okay, so it took its March low on the QQQ. All right, came down to fair value gap, and we'll see what's going to happen overnight. That's really going to be the big key. Because when you look, this is RTH, right? If you go to extended, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because on RTH, you see just a gap. But then on extended, that's when you'll get to see, if I go to a 4-hour, what I'm talking about with this fair value gap and stuff. But again, you can pull the RTH and it's just a gap. And so what do you normally see on gaps when they first drop into them? Usually 50% retracement into a gap like that, right? And so again, we'll see, how much this is going to hold, if it's going to bounce overnight, try to pull some liquidity and continue down. Right, that's what we got to find out. So we'll see what the futures traders and all that good stuff and how they want to set us up in the morning and stuff. We'll know, because that's what happened this morning. Again, we came up, grabbed liquidity, and then just went down. So again, major level taken. The monthly levels are major levels. Okay, major levels. And so we'll see what happens for tomorrow on that one. Let me know what you're predicting for tomorrow for the Qs and the SPY. Now, one thing that is helping this is look at Microsoft, right? We're going to look at the 2 heaviest weighted stocks, right, in the Qs and the SPY. It closed below its 50 moving average today, okay? And obviously that's been holding it up pretty nicely. It's been a while since this has happened. Last time it happened was right here. We got some weakness down in September of 2023, dropped about 7.5%, okay? When you come back over here, obviously you can see this thing is still in a range right now. Even though it broke its 50, doesn't mean, that's one candle, just FYI. And you can see it, if it comes down to 100, hey, that'd be even better, right? Because you can see it does respect this 100 very much so as support and resistance. And so looking at this, if it did decide to come back into the next demand areas, you can see right there, I'm going to pull this white line up, be right there. It's around 7%. Right, so that would be a pretty good drawdown for Microsoft, and it would definitely pull down the SPY and the Qs, right? Because it's the number 1 weighted now. Look at Apple, second most weighted. That's what we talked about with that supply and demand area, right? It popped, great, got to that demand area. What now is a resistance area, and what happened? We got another rejection now, right? So we'll see if this was going to try to continue to bounce or not. It's actually green today when a lot of stuff was red. It's like they were trying to pile into this thing. They didn't want to. I guess they don't want to lose that 168, 169 area right there. But again, to order set another lower low, because now you have a lower high right there, you got to come down and break that 160, I think it's 167 if I'm not mistaken, to get a new lower low, all right? So keep that in mind on Apple. But if those two are selling off, the market's going to be hurting. NVIDIA, right? Now we got 2 semiconductors companies reporting this week, so this could all flip around at the drop of a hat. We know how this works with semis, right? And so when you look at this one, obviously it came up, it was super green, boom, double tops right here, major sell-off, market turns over. There you go. Now this is coming back into what? Another supply area. It's been here multiple times. We have these 3 shaded areas out here, and it's just in the same range it's been in for quite a while now this year, okay? And so we'll see if this area is going to hold on this. You have a big expected move. I mean, the bottom's like 819.25 on this thing, and then it's 944 to the top. So big range on NVIDIA for this week. And because really you have those 2 semiconductor stocks, one of them being Taiwan Semiconductors, which makes over 80% of the chips, reporting this week. And so they're going to report on demand and everything else. So watch this for NVIDIA. Again, those 2 companies report really good demand because they don't have anywhere near, as you saw in the first little chart I showed you there, the kind of earnings that NVIDIA has been having. So if they report good earnings and more importantly, good guidance, what do you think that's going to do for NVIDIA stock? All right, and so you got to kind of keep that in mind. Now, moving over to Tesla. Whew, boy, this one right here, you can see opened up immediately to the red and to the downside. Of course, more bad news for Tesla, if you want to call it that. Supposedly they're laying off 10% of the workforce. In some areas, it's going to be 20%. Of course, usually this is bullish for stocks, right? Because it cuts costs. Not good for the economy, but good for a stock because they're cutting costs. And of course, Elon came out, tried to salvage this thing. So, oh no, about every 5 years, we need to reorganize and streamline the company for the next phase of growth. It's not because we're slowing down in China or anything, right? And so, of course, the market's like, whatever, we don't believe you. And it kept selling down. So, because I mean, obviously their numbers have not been good. It's like every EV company. I mean, the deliveries have slowed down, everything, and high interest rates are not helping. That is for sure. And so, again, I actually was wondering if this is going to go down and do a quadruple bottom, because we know we've triple bottomed right now at that 160.50, I believe what it is right there. Yeah, 160.75, it looks like. We've hit it 3 times and bounced. I thought we were going to get down there. We did not get down there today. We'll see if it wants to test it overnight or in the pre-market in the morning and then bounce from there, or we're just going to come up and grab some liquidity at that trend line and maybe reject from there. But, let me know your predictions in the bottom right there on Tesla. But again, 160.75 is really your line in the sand if this thing does go down even more. One more, Shopify. Again, this head and shoulders is playing out, and now it's sitting at the 200 moving average. So if there's one stock that needs a bounce, it is Shopify, right? Because there's the 200. And what happens below the 200? Nothing good. So watch out for this one right here, because again, if I try to figure out what the bottom is, if this head and shoulders is normally, head and shoulders don't always play out 100% anyway. I always say it's partially, but if you just draw this out from the neckline to the head, right there in that gap, right around $52, I believe it is where you're looking this thing to go. So again, it's at the 200, needs a bounce. We'll see if it gets it or not. This used to be a high flyer. It's been kind of just dead in the water right now while Amazon's taking all the headlines. Now, earnings tomorrow, you'll have more banks coming out. You'll have Johnson & Johnson as well. And then you look over here, United Airlines is going to be reporting in the afternoon. Interactive Brokers, another one. And when you look at it, this chart right here shows you really when earnings is going to be kicking in. And earnings, as you can see, the big ones, I guess you could say it starts the week of April 19th, but really it's the April 25th week right there, like that right there. Whoo! And then the week after that, the week of April 30th right there, that's when you get the majority of earnings coming out. So that's when it really starts for you. Now, when it comes to any kind of economic news tomorrow, not a whole lot's going to come out, but I will tell you this right here. You'll have industrial manufacturing, but I don't believe it's on here. Jerome Powell does, yes, not on here. Jerome Powell actually speaks tomorrow. It's some setting, so we'll see, if that's going to affect the market or not. I can't remember if it's 11:30 or 1, but it's somewhere in that time frame. And so, last time he did, the algos love to react off whatever he's going to say and stuff. And so we'll see, what's going on with that. It was crazy to me as I'm doing a members video for tomorrow right now, looking at people always ask about TLT and the yields and all this crazy mess. And so I was researching well, people don't think the 10-year can go any higher. And I'm like, actually, I found out absolutely can go higher, and why it probably will go higher and how that affects TLT and stuff. But it's just amazing when I was doing that video how much debt issuance we are doing every month in treasuries and bonds. I mean, it's just crazy. It's breathtaking. When I see a chart I'm going to put in that video, it's just absolutely breathtaking. It's unbelievable how much debt these idiots in DC are just putting out there every month. I mean, it's trillions. It's crazy, man. I mean, I don't want to, when they have a talk behind the scenes, do they ever think whew, really screwing our grandkids here? I mean, it's nuts. People think we can just spin our way into oblivion and there's no repercussions for it whatsoever. It's amazing that people actually believe that. I mean, it really is amazing. So anyway, just want to get on my soapbox for a second on that one. Hope you guys got something out of it. Hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think, how tomorrow's going to go, and even the rest of the week, right? Because I think really we all know it depends on Taiwan Semiconductors, ASML. If they report good and semis start to rally, tech's probably going to rally some. That don't mean it's going to go to all-time highs or anything. It just can give a nice bump, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. So anyway, see you guys tomorrow.